This week on Africa Weekly, we meet a team of British engineers and mechanics who have spent 6 weeks working in South Africa's Kalahari desert with the aim of constructing a car capable of taking on the land speed record, currently set at 1,223.657 kilometres per hour. Then we head to Gambia, where 3 years after being ousted from power, the country's former dictator, Yahya Jammeh, is still revered by a part of the population, and supporters of his APRC party still live in hope that one day he may return. But first, let's take a look at the stories that made the headlines this week. A Burkina Faso delegation led by Defence Minister Sherif Moumina Sai visited the northern town of Arbinda, the site of a deadly jihadist attack on Tuesday morning that left 42 people dead. 35 civilians, including 31 women and 7 soldiers, were killed in the morning raid, which lasted for several hours, targeting both civilians and a military base. 80 assailants were also killed. Algeria buried Army Chief Ahmed Gaid Salah, who had been the country's de facto strongman in recent months and guardian of the ruling system, challenged by a massive protest movement. After a funeral worthy of a head of state, the veteran general was interred in Martyrs Square in Al Alia Cemetery, where former presidents and other major Algerian figures are laid to rest. The wooden coffin containing the body of the leader, who died of a heart attack on Monday, aged 79, was displayed for 4 hours in the People's Palace in the centre of the capital Algiers, before being carried in procession to his final resting place. Ivory Coast's state prosecutor says that former rebel leader and presidential candidate Guillaume Soro is accused of plotting an anti-government uprising, charges his supporters have dismissed as a political frame-up. Soro was due to head back to the country on Monday after a 6-month absence, but he diverted his flight when security forces stormed his party headquarters in Abidjan. Prosecutors then issued an arrest warrant for him, whose planned return has raised tensions in the West African nation ahead of the presidential election next year. At least 30 people were killed in fighting between militiamen and traders in a restive district of Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic. The fighting began after traders in the district took up arms to oppose taxes levied by militia groups. Burundian President Pierre Nkurunziza has reaffirmed he will not contest next year's election, despite scepticism from the opposition and with the ruling party yet to name another candidate less than 6 months from polling day. The long-serving president sought and won a controversial third term in office in 2015, defying constitutional limits and plunging the country into a deadly political crisis and economic recession. But the 56-year-old leader, whose tenure has been marked by allegations of severe rights abuses and a crackdown on political freedoms, announced in June 2018 that he would not run in the election set for May 2020. About 2,000 residents of the Kenyan city of Kisumu have been left homeless after heavy rains flooded houses, forcing residents to migrate to higher ground. A burst river added to the damage caused. 2 months of relentless rains have submerged villages and farms and sent rivers of mud crashing into houses across East Africa, with at least 265 people killed. Meteorologists are warning of more heavy rains to come.
Foot to the floor on the desert floor. Rocketing up to 900 kilometres an hour in South Africa's Kalahari desert, this car, created by British company Bloodhound, is still in its testing phase. They hope to get to the point where it can compete to break the land speed record of 1,223 kilometres an hour, the fastest speed achieved by a person in a vehicle on land.
That's 900 kilometres an hour out of the way. We're now going to target something around about 980, see how that goes. And if we can get that fast, we'll see if we can sneak it up towards 1,000. That is about as fast as we can go on the 16 kilometres we have available here.
The 16-kilometre stretch is located in the bed of a dried-out lake in the Kalahari Desert, one of few places in the world flat enough to shoot for such speeds. It's an out-of-the-ordinary car, with an engine to match. The vehicle is powered by a fighter plane's jet engine, which will later be reinforced with an additional one from a rocket. And it's all carried on top of 4 lightweight aluminium wheels.
So the car, as it is a car, it has a steering wheel, has a throttle pedal, has a brake pedal. The total power while we're in South Africa this year is about 54,000 brake horsepower, which is about 9 tonnes of thrust.
When it comes to finding a qualified driver, you'd struggle to do better than Andy Green, holder of the current land speed record since 1997 and a fighter pilot in Britain's Royal Air Force.
It's a very different sensation, it's a very different environment, it's a very different vehicle, but the skill sets needed in terms of monitoring the high speed, controlling it, making the decisions based on a considered response of does this look right, is it safe to carry on? That is exactly like flying a high performance jet fighter at the limit of its performance.
But this major operation, setting up the vehicles, staff and infrastructure in the middle of a desert, comes with an inevitable carbon footprint. Bloodhound recognise this, but hope that their activities will have a net positive impact in the long run.
This project inspires people to do engineering, and we're going to solve the problem of the future with more engineers developing new technologies, becoming faster, more efficient, becoming carbon neutral. All these things need developing and designing, and engineering is the way that will get solved. So if we can help to inspire engineers to do that, then we're doing our part.
With the first phase of testing complete, Bloodhound are back in the UK, with their return to the South African desert planned for the summer of 2021. By then, they hope to come equipped with an extra rocket engine, the boost that they hope will enable them to set a new land speed record. Former Gambian dictator Yahya Jammeh lost the country's presidential elections on December 1st, 2016. The event marked the end of a brutal regime that lasted 22 years in this tiny West African state, entirely surrounded by Senegal. But 3 years on, die-hard fans still sing the praises of the one-time tyrant, now in exile in Equatorial Guinea.
He is the only president who can develop the country. He is the only president who will know that when we speak with him, he will know what we are talking about. He will understand what we are talking about.
A body called the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, or TRRC, was set up to investigate crimes committed under the Jammeh regime. It has heard shocking testimony, including from hitmen who say they carried out dozens of murders for the regime. Harrowing allegations of torture also feature prominently, and Jammeh himself has been accused of rape. But supporters reject these accusations out of hand, and are confident that the APRC, the former ruling party, will bounce back.
This can show it by yourself. The crowd and the people that show their love, the TRRC, this will show them that still now people love the former president.
Jammeh's party drew thousands of supporters for its annual rally in a show of strength for a party that has only 5 seats in the 58-seat parliament.
Because of the democratic space, now you see that his supporters are very vocal about their support for him. So still, he's seen as the symbol or rallying cause for his supporters, basically.
Nearly every night, some of Jammeh's supporters hold meetings, gathering at the house of new party leader Fabakary Tombong Jatta. These meetings are often alive with rumours of Jammeh's imminent return.
He has a right to come back, and he will come back. Inshallah, he will soon come back. It's just a matter of time, but he's almost on the way coming.
But with evidence against his regime continuing to stack up, if Jammeh ever does decide to return from exile, he would almost certainly be risking prosecution.
And finally, during a visit to Abidjan, French President Emmanuel Macron underlined France's uncomplicated relationship with Africa by announcing the imminent end of the CFA franc. He said it's time to turn a new page, calling colonialism a mistake of the Republic.
J'entends ce que dit la jeunesse africaine, j'entends ce que disent les milieux d'affaires économiques africains, j'entends ce que disent aussi...
I hear what the African youth are saying. I hear what the African business community is saying. I hear what our diasporas are also saying, asking us to move forward on this issue. It was the legacy of a historical system, and it was seen as the remnants of a France-Afrique.
D'une France-Afrique. Il faut prendre en compte aussi des éléments de perception en ces matières.
That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.